The next series of videos will cover the database that's located inside your Flash interface. While the Flash interface that we've been developing primarily is graphical and a sort of shell or host for a series of items that you will build outside of it, the database is a structured set of information that will ultimately be hosted in the interface by virtue of a referenced Swift file. So to make this work effectively, you have to have your information well organized and structured and indexed inside an XML file. The two databases that are located inside the example file compilation include diagrams, images, Swifts, videos, and a series of attribute tags that are actually drawn right out of the XML file. The two XML files that are referenced into the compilation file are one called Haydock Videos XML and MD.xml. The Haydock Videos really is a series of videos taken from the 456 class and some text notation. The MD.xml file is represented as a series of abstract images and diagrams, basically to provide a kind of format that you might consider in the layout and structuring of your own database. It's really critical that all of these things are organized in this fashion, and that you use some sort of naming convention that would allow you to easily gain access to all of these things without a lot of effort. So, the colors being used in this particular example repeat in the names for each of the subject headings. So you'll notice there's some other files in here. Some of these files are going to be dropped in here automatically by Flash, and some of the components that make up the video monitor interface are also going to be automatically dropped in here by Flash, and all of it must remain together with the same consistent path and file structure. Because of that, you should make sure that you ultimately keep the final host file outside of this directory. Probably treat this as a subdirectory to compilation, and that also is going to be a lot cleaner for anyone who might be looking at the interface. They would select the Swift version, actually the executable version of your completed compilation, and it would reference or link to the subdirectory, in this case called component video, would find all of this other stuff. Your final production won't require the FLA files, but it will require any Swifts that are externally referenced and any of the subdirectories that contain the data that's going to be placed inside your database or other locations inside your file. For this series of videos, I'm going to focus just on the MD database. And let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. As an XML file, we can open this in WordPad, Notepad, Simple Text. It'll open in Dreamweaver, and it'll all tab automatically. Dreamweaver reads the XML format. You can author this in any number of places, and the key thing is that it's based on a tag structuring system. For a reader to acknowledge that this is XML, there has to be a tag at the very top that looks exactly like you have here. So just copy and reuse it. The power of this is not so much what the tag says, because you can invent all of your own names and so forth, but it's the hierarchy and structuring of this stuff. At the beginning of the file, we have a MyData tag, and at the end, we have a closed MyData tag. So you see the /MyData. Nested inside here are a series of project descriptions. And so the overall bracket is my data, and inside of that we have what's essentially known as an array. We have an array of projects, or a matrix if you will. Each project is opened and then closed with a tag called project. Nested inside of that are a series of attributes and descriptors that would be assigned to the project blue box in this case. So we have a tag called location, open and close, and it's called sky. And we have a description, open and close, and there's lots of B's in here. We have type, box, construction, lattice, diagram. Well, here when we get to diagram, image, and Annie, we see that there's something a little bit more elaborate with those tags. And what this tag, this string here of characters represents is a path. And that path, diagrams/blue diagrams JPEG, is the path between the XML file, MD, and the subdirectories here with content inside. And in fact, the paths that are described in your XML file could link to remote locations apart from your final production, but the full path and URL would need to be described inside here. So everything contained inside the XML file is text. There are no images. There is nothing but characters here, and the power of the organization and structure. Any reader will know that this is one element in an array of similar elements because they all use the same tag, and nested inside, the variables that are used to describe Project Blue Box here are identical to the variables that describe Yellow Sphere, and this will allow us to develop a text field, for example, called location, that can be repurposed for Blue Box, Yellow Sphere, Red Cone, and so forth, and likewise for the other elements inside.